One of the most common things I hear in kite surfing is, I want to unhook, but I can't get my head around it. I feel like I'm going to get my arms ripped off, and I just don't think in reality it's a possible thing for me to do. Well, I'm here to set you guys straight. Unhooking's not about strength, and it's not about getting your arms ripped off. It's all about technique. And I'm going to give you a couple of great little tips to get you started so you can get out there and unhook and tear it up in the waves. Because the benefits of unhooking, like I stress so often, are so good and so meant for riding in the waves, because you can really open up your body and tear into turns on, like a much more complex level. So the first thing is you need to have your kite set up right. If you're somebody who likes to fly their bar halfway up their D-power line, you need to change that if you want to unhook, because more than likely the way that you've got your kite set up is that it's in its optimal position and at its full power at this point. So if you do pull all the way in, what's going to happen is it's going to backstall your kite and it's going to fall out of the sky. Now, your other alternative, or your other option, if you want to, is when you go to unhook, you use your D-power strap and you sheet in and then you unhook. But it's not simple at all, and at the end of the day, I believe when you are riding in the waves, you need to be flying your kite at its optimal position down here anyways, because when you are caught in the whitewash and there's lots of current and you're moving around, sometimes it's hard to get power out of your kite, and what you tend to do is pull your kite all the way in and then turn, because it's going to be at its most responsive point. When you do that and you've got your kite set up like this, what it's going to do is backstall the kite. So you're thinking in your mind, oh, I'm turning it as hard as I can, but in reality that's not happening, because you're sheeting your back lines in and it's making the kite backstall. You need to do one or two things. Make your adjustment here or on your D-power line, wherever that may be on your bar, so that your kite flies perfectly when it's pulled all the way in. When you've got your kite perfectly set, the shape of your kite should not be flared out at all. It should be just the perfect shape, like it would be when you put it on the beach or when you're holding it in your hands. Your other option, if you don't want to use your D-power strap, is to change where you attach your lines to your pigtails on your kite. So essentially what you'd want to do is make your front lines shorter and your back lines longer on the attachment points to the kite. Once you've got your kite set up perfectly, this is the most important thing you need to get your head around. When you're riding unhooked, as long as you're going at the same speed as your kite, then it's never going to pull you. You need to get that straight in your head, because that's the thing that people struggle with most of all. They think, okay, when I unhook, it's going to rip my, arm out of my shoulder, and I'm just going to get dragged and ripped down, down the beach. But if you can get your head around the fact that as long as your kite's going at the same speed as you, then everything's going to be sweet. You want to start out when the wind's really light. You don't need to go out there on a 40-knot day and try and kill yourself. Just start out when it's a nice 10 to 15 knots. Today you can see here it's about 10 to 15 knots. Okay, so I'm not going to get dragged down the beach or anything crazy is going to happen to me, because the first part of this process is actually doing it on the beach. What I want you to do is I want you to get a nice big open beach where there's nobody else around, nowhere where you can hurt yourself, and essentially what you're going to do is you're just going to walk down the beach, get going at the same speed as your kite, and unhook and just walk with one arm. So get yourself a nice big open piece of beach. What we're going to do is we're going to turn the kite down in the direction that we want to go while we're still hooked in. Once we get momentum and we're walking at the same speed as the kite, that's when we're going to unhook the kite. Okay, now I'm going at the same speed as the kite. Now I'm going to unhook by pressing my thumbs down on my chicken loop and pulling down at the same time. Then I'm going to grab the kite in one hand and walk down with it. You'll notice it's not pulling me at all because I'm going at the same speed as the kite. Okay, then to hook back in, grab your chicken loop, pull it away and hook it back into the harness. By grabbing your chicken loop when you go to hook back in, it's going to depower the kite and make it easier to do. If it is really windy and you don't do that, at some point when you go to hook back in, you could potentially be fighting with the kite and trying to wrestle it back in. So all you need to do when you're ready to hook back in is grab your chicken loop, pull it down, hook it into your harness, and then you're ready to go. Okay, now we're going to turn around and do it the other way. Okay, so turn the kite down in the direction that you want to go. Get going the same speed as the kite. Use your thumbs, pull down, unhook, hold on with one hand and walk along with the kite. Okay, when you're ready to hook back in, grab your chicken loop, pull it down and hook it into your harness. Okay, so as you can see, that technique's really simple. Do it 10 or 15 times. Do it until you get really comfortable. Try it at a number of different speeds, turning the kite more downwind, and just play around with it. The more you practice it and the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get with it. Once you get to a point where you're feeling really good and happy with doing it on the beach, then what I want you to do is go out into the water, go out past the waves. Removing the dynamic of the waves from this mix makes it gel together in your head so much quicker. So don't even think about catching waves at this point. Go right out the back, away from everybody in nobody's road, and do exactly the same thing on the water. Turn your kite downwind in the direction that you'd want to go if you were catching a wave. Unhook and just travel down with it. Do it 10, 15 times, do it 30 times. Do it as much as you need to do it to get yourself comfortable. Once you've got comfortable and once you've practiced that a lot, it's just going to happen automatically in your head when you go to do it on a wave.